growing up in my neighborhood, there was this old man, and he used to sit sometimes in the park or sometimes outside the liquor store, and he used to tell stories for change. And he was like this. He said, "There was a roach named Fred." Yeah, a roach named Fred. So, y'all want to hear about Fred the Roach? Or say, do you want to hear about Fred the Roach? Yeah. Y'all want to hear about Fred the Roach? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to tell you about him. But first, you got to drop some change in the cup right here. Yeah, 50 cents is cool, you know. $1 make me want to holler. Yeah, I'll take a quarter. Drop it in, you cheap Miss Franklin. Good afternoon. Drop it in, y'all, if you want to hear the story soon. All right, since y'all dropped it in, dropped it in, now we can begin. So there was a roach named Fred. I don't know why his name was Fred, but this roach was smarter than other roaches because Fred, well, he used his head. What little head he had, shoot. He got that blessed skill from his dad, and from his mom. He learned the fact that you should freeze in the light and walk in the black. The other roaches thought he was so whack, but see, the other roaches, they had no tact. They would scurry out for a piece of pie. They didn't understand or comprehend why. Fred would wait. Then that roach would investigate. Y'all, Fred would be like this. He'd be like, and to himself debate, because he knew that he didn't want to share the same fate. Splatter! Like his next of kin. Squash! Like Fred's best friend. Fred said, we got to bring this genocide to an end. He called a meeting then. Roaches from everywhere came. Look, how they knew, I don't know. But they came from everywhere to Fred's house, yo, zoo. And some came from the East O, some came all the way from south side of Chicago, zoo. Now, when they got together, Fred said, look, we gonna be around forever, so look, use tact. You got to freeze in the light and walk in the black. Zoo, and this roach-on-roach crime is whack. But look at the toilet gang against the kitchen counter crew, that's whack. We all roaches, baby. We got to start using some different approaches. So the roaches organized all night. And by sunrise, they did unite. So I don't kill roaches in my house no more, because you can win the battle, but you can't win the war, not Zoo. And that was Breeze. That was him. You know, as a storyteller, a theater artist, a performer, I take Breeze and I take all the amazing storytellers that I listened to as a boy in my neighborhood, and I pull from their energy, you know? And when I step on stage, I mean, it sounds weird, but it's like I'm by myself, but then at the same time, like they're with me. Like Breeze is with me. You know, people that told stories in my family, my mother, my grandmother, they're all with me. And as a community, we dialogue with you all, you know? Now, some of you might not consider yourselves artists, but whatever you do and whoever you be, whether you're a lawyer, doctor, teacher, plumber, painter, you have stories. You have stories in your family, in your community, in your culture, in your nation, in this world. You have stories. And so I really beg you to just continue to tell your stories and do your best to tell the whole story, you know? Try to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly in the story, because that's where you get to the truth. That's where you get to the healing, is to tell the truth, tell the story. Sometimes we do, and this happens, I'm starting to do it myself. The older we get, we kind of start to revise history, you know what I mean? So, for example, I'm a hip-hop artist. My grandmother, she hated hip-hop. My grandmother loved the blues, right? My grandmother's grandmother hated the blues, right? My grandmother's grandmother said the blues was devil music, you know? And the blues, when it was formed, it was rough. I mean, those kids, you know, I beat my woman, she beat me back, you know, it was serious, you know? It's a little more safe now, you know what I mean? But the blues were started by young men and women who were brilliant, angry, confused geniuses that were trying to figure out and survive in the world around them. I was like, Grandma, that's just what hip-hop is. No, I hate hip-hop, it's evil. What are you saying? You know? So she is not telling the whole story to herself. Another example, the civil rights movement, yeah? My father, when he was young, he was 19. He was there in Louisiana and Alabama on the front lines marching. You know, he was right there when it was happening. He's not famous He's nobody that anybody in this room would know. In fact, he always tells me this story. He's like, hey, boy, come here. He's like, come here. You know that picture, that famous picture, you know that one where you were coming over the bridge there in Alabama and I'm there and Stokely's there and everyone, you know that picture? Well, if you look really closely, you can see my elbow. That's my elbow, boy, it's my elbow, you know? So he was there. And my father told me one time he got remarried and he told me he was at his wife's daughter's house. And his wife's daughter's daughter was studying the civil rights movement in school. She's about 13 years old. And so she came home. She's like, I'm learning about the civil rights movement. And so my father, he jumped up. He's like, oh, I was right there. I can tell you the whole thing. He's like, this is how we marched. This is how we organized. And we walked. And when the police would come, they would hit us with the sticks and they would poke us with the cattle prods. He was like, and this is how you move. He started doing this move. This is how you move so that your ribs will be bruised and not broken like this, you know. And his wife's daughter jumped up and was like, no. I don't want any of that. That's too violent. It's too much conflict. I don't want my 13-year-old daughter to learn that. He's like, they were marching, they were singing We Shall Overcome. The song was so good that they got their freedom. The end, you know what I mean? You know? And it's crazy how the civil rights movement is taught now. There's so much that's taken out, glossed over, smoothed out. But how are young people supposed to build the movements and the progressive movements of tomorrow if we don't teach them the truth, the good and the bad and ugly of what happened, why it happened, and how it went down, you know? And it's the same thing with our leaders. Now, I know we love our leaders, Dr. King, Susan B. Anthony, Cesar Chavez, Abraham Lincoln. Jeremy was talking about this yesterday, but it's like we teach them like they're near gods, right? We teach them like they're perfect. And so a young kid coming up is going to be like, there's no way I can be perfect like that. So why even aspire to be the Abe Lincoln or the Dr. King or the Susan B. Anthony of my time? And it just stunts the possibilities. You know, why do that? You know what I mean? Teach them how they were. They had mistakes. They had mistakes in their personal lives. They had mistakes in professional lives. But that's what made them so great because they were able to overcome. You know? So teach the truth. Teach the whole story. And the second thing I want to say lastly is, if you don't teach the whole story, not only do we revise history and stunt the youth, but also the history can repeat itself in surprisingly terrible ways. For example, I remember one time, I was kicking it down south in the Georgia state. I was visiting my sister. Hey, she's doing great. It was me and my wife in a pocket of green. She say, let's take a ride, check the southern scene. So, hi. We hopped on the bus and we started to roll through towns where the people used to be bought and sold. My folks worked in the heat and even the cold. Then they fought Jim Crow, let the story be told. So on the Greyhound it is cold as because the bus driver got the air conditioned way up. And if you ever took Greyhound, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know. Freezing. Then a woman with a child in her arms and one on her knee. In broken English, she said to the driver, too cold, please. And the driver just ignores her, kind of shrugs it off. He says, shoot, I like the cold. It keep my jerry curls soft. You know? Now the child that's on the woman's knee is starting to cough and sneeze. So the woman asks the driver again, too cold, sir, help. And the driver stops the bus. He says, all right, that's enough. I'm tired of you Mexicans always asking for stuff. This is my bus. If you don't like what's going on, take your butt back down there to Mexico where you belong. You know the old folk died so that we could be equal. Never thought we'd turn around and then oppress another people. Ba-ba-dee-da, da-ba-do-dee-da, ba-ba-dee-da, da-ba-do-dee-da, ba-ba-dee-da, da-ba-do-dee-da. Thank you.